Meeting of Council for Wednesday, August 18th, 2021, beginning at 5:01 p.m. And I'll call to order this meeting. And at this time, I'm looking to confirm the agenda. We only have one item, one issue that we're dealing with in tonight's meeting. So I'm looking for a motion to confirm the agenda unless there are any emergent items. Councillor
I move to confirm the agenda as amended.
Councillor Bauer makes a motion. You've all heard the motion. All in favor? Motion is carried. We have no tabled or referred reports. And item 4.1, items reports from administration. 4.1, an item brought forward by Councillor Bauer considering the COVID-19 face covering bylaw. And before we have any discussion, we need to have a motion for second reading before we can have any discussion, just as a reminder as far as procedure. So looking for a motion to get it on the floor. If only Mark was here. Councillor Corbeil, we have a motion.
Oh, yeah. You want me to read it, or is it okay?
Probably be better if you did.
Okay, I got that. I move the council give first reading to bylaw number 21-24, temporary COVID-19 face covering bylaw amendment bylaw.
Thank you. Councillor Cox, do you have a question?
Could you repeat the bylaw number, because I have 20-28.
Administration?
Yes, to you, Mr. Mayor. Bylaw 2124 is the bylaw to repeal bylaw 2028. So
Okay.
the motion is to give first reading.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay,
Gotcha.
so
Thank
Councillor Corbeil, you did you have the correct one? Do we have that administration? 21-24 face covering bylaw repeal bylaw? Okay, so we have a motion for first reading. All in favor? Councillor Soul, first reading? Opposed? Oh, okay, sorry, we have 6 in favor and 1 opposed. Thank you. And we need a motion for second reading in order to be able to discuss this. Councilor Montgomery?
Thank you. I'll move second reading of bylaw 21-24, please.
Thank you. And now that we have second reading on the floor, usually I wait for you all to say something first, but tonight I just wanted to say a quick comment or two. And basically, I will be voting to rescind the original mask bylaw. This may be a shock to some people because I've been pushing hard for masks back in the late winter of 2020. But when we brought that mask bylaw in, there were no vaccines available to our public. And now 8 months later, many, many Strathmore residents have been vaccinated, and I believe they are much safer now. I wanted to thank all the residents of Strathmore who've worked so hard with physical distancing, masking, and then also the many, many people who have gotten vaccinations. Rescinding this bylaw will also help support our local businesses. And just a quick shout out to Strathmore residents, thank you. But if you've been hesitant to get vaccinated, I hope you please consider doing it as a way to protect yourself and your families. And that's my comment. Any other comments or discussion points? Councillor Bauer and then Councillor Sobel.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to say thank you to you and the rest of council for bringing this special meeting so quickly to the forefront. We've had a lot of hostile remarks in social media and some people that agree with this bylaw that it should be continued. I've been weighing very seriously both sides, and I very much agree with what our mayor just said. This bylaw was put in at a time where we felt very strongly that we needed to do something in our own backyard. We needed to take care of our own Strathmore people, and they were very, very much in support of having a bylaw that protected everyone in our community. Since then, we've had vaccinations, and we currently have over a 60% vaccination rate for Strathmore. We also have many people that still continue to wear masks and should still continue to wear masks if they so choose. But I don't believe that we are at a point where the province has created new guidelines and that we would be going against those guidelines. And they have the epidemiology, the immunology, they have the emergency management assistance, and they have the resources to make these decisions in a much greater capacity than we do at this table. And so I put my trust in them. I put my trust in emerging science, and I put my trust in the new treatment criteria that is out there. And I very much believe in the science of vaccines. I also believe in that we are also in, I don't like the word new normal, but we are in a situation where we are starting to live with COVID. And I'm hoping that this bylaw hopes to ease some of the fear and the anxiety that has been created in the last 48 hours, and that people know that this is the process, that we needed to go through this process in order to get here, and that no one here has a personal agenda, one way or the other. We really just want the best for the Strathmore people. And I know hindsight is 2020. I think that, this council may agree, or some members of this council may agree, that this should have been taken care of in July before we went on a break in August. And yes, had I known that the numbers would have climbed to 26 as of yesterday, yes, I would have definitely recommended that we do that. However, we're in this position now. We're following the process. I'm very thankful to our administration, our CAO, for helping me draft the emergent special meeting, the words in order to do this. And I'm thankful to my fellow councillors who supported me in this. And I just want to say that I hope that we have a very lively discussion, and we can all be very kind to each other, just as I have also mentioned to people when they're emailing and messaging me, to just continue to remember we're all in this together and be kind. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Sobel, then Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. I want to be clear that I'm not a fan of wearing a mask. I do, excuse me, however, believe and understand that they can be beneficial in helping to prevent the spread of COVID. Our community has seen a significant rise in active cases. I believe today we're up at 30, which have more than doubled in the last 6 days. Delta variant is affecting most of our country and is responsible for the majority of the active COVID cases. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, described Delta as more transmissible than the common cold and influenza, as well as the viruses that cause smallpox, MERS, SARS, and Ebola, and called it as contagious as chickenpox. Of course, it's unvaccinated people that are most at risk because of the effectiveness of the vaccines. But the problem is that vaccinated people can have the Delta variant and be asymptomatic and therefore pass it on to anyone, and also cause the most harm to those unvaccinated. Dr. Hinshaw recently reported that 91% of COVID-19 deaths and 76% of hospital intensive care unit admissions were from people not fully vaccinated. Study after study has shown that masks, as well as washing your hands and social distancing, can assist in stopping the spread of the virus. 37.3% of the Strathmore area population remain unvaccinated. Active cases are on the rise. Recent studies in the US are raising concerns about the number of younger children ending up in the hospital with COVID. They are, of course, part of the unvaccinated, so it is both disappointing and sad to see so many residents become so angry and animated over a bylaw requiring them to mask up in indoor public places. All this in a town which has become famous for caring about your fellow individual, where people buy others coffee at the local Tim's or pay for a person's groceries, or donate happily to so many good causes. But to put on a mask, a small piece of cloth over two areas that can inhale and exhale respiratory pathogens and possibly help save a life or help prevent a little person from catching this virus is apparently too onerous a task. We should not need a law to tell people to be cautious dealing with the worst pandemic in 100 years. People should be racing to get vaccinated, but they don't. I suspect that this bylaw will be repealed today. For myself, I cannot support the motion. However, I will not stop this motion from proceeding if the majority of council decide to support the end of bylaw 20-28. My duty as a councillor, as dictated by the Municipal Government Act, is in part to provide safe community. Until our local vaccination numbers improve considerably to at least the 70% mark, I will continue with that effort for at least the next 61 days. Despite the assurances by senior government officials that all is well, I remain very concerned about the return of our children to school, but pray and hope that I am wrong. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. I'll go now to Councillor Peterson. You might be on mute.
Thank you, Your Worship. And my statement is very short, and I want to thank the other councillors for articulating, and yourself for articulating much of what I feel and what I believe. Yesterday, 2 junior high school students from Strathmore that said to me that they feared returning to school because their parents were insisting that they would wear masks, and that they are afraid of being bullied at school by others who won't. And this will, of course, be after the school mandate has shifted. And I think that it so demonstrates exactly what you and Councillor Sobel and Councillor Bauer were talking about in terms of being able to, not just to learn to live with this virus, but to learn to live with each other. And we truly do need to respect everyone's position on this as we move forward. And we are not going to agree on how this has rolled out or how it will roll out in the future, but we can agree to respect one another. And as you and Councillor Sobel mentioned, I just plead with people to keep our community safe, and we know that doing that through vaccination possibly will be the very best way. And I really encourage people to think about how we can live in some kind of unity and respect and kindness going forward, that will not just help us to live with this virus, but will ensure that we can prosper going forward as a community. And I want to thank everybody on both sides of the issue who lent their voices to this, and know that you've been heard and respected. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any other discussion points? Councillor Montgomery?
Yeah, I guess you guys have already kind of spoken very well about, this is a different situation. There's kind of different facts on the ground, I guess you could say. I wanted to personally thank all the people that wrote or called members of council about this issue. There was, and I'll say right now, while there was obviously disagreement from members of the public about the fact that this was enacted to begin with, or was enacted a couple days ago, all of the messages that I received from people were very respectful. The people that were against the mask bylaw, they were all very respectful, and they went out of their way to provide different studies and whatnot to kind of back up their cases. And I just wanted to thank all those people for taking the time out of their day to contact the representatives on this council. It obviously matters. There's people on this council that are now let's say they've changed their views thanks to the public reaching out and expressing their views to them. So I want to thank you very much for doing that, and I want to thank Councillor Bauer for leading this, bringing this forward. And I also wanted to thank the other councillors as well for agreeing to hold this meeting. And I guess I'll thank you, Mr. Mayor, as well. You called this meeting relatively quickly, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Councillor Montgomery. And I'll go now to Deputy Mayor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to echo what all of you have already said as well. I do agree with Councillor Montgomery. All the emails, phone calls, and texts that I received were also extremely respectful. I appreciate that with all of my heart. It was very happy to see that we are being kind to one another, even though we are expressing different views. I want to also thank Your Worship for calling this meeting so quickly. That was incredible. We really appreciate it. And also Councillor Bauer for calling the meeting as well. And of course, most of you already know that I voted not in favor of this bylaw. So I will be voting to repeal it. Thank you.
Thank you. So if there are no further comments, I will call the question. We have a motion on the floor for second reading. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so that defeats it. Councillor Peterson, did you vote? I can't hear you. I cannot hear you, Councillor Peterson.
Sorry, I'm having some connectivity issues. Yes, I voted in favor of the motion, and Your Worship, I would move third reading if you're prepared of bylaw 21-24, face covering rescinding bylaw.
I think it's unanimous consent next.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
so,
you. Yes, I would move.
okay, are you making a motion now for unanimous consent, Councillor Peter? I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yes, if you can hear me, Your Worship, I would move unanimous consent on bylaw 21-24.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor for unanimous consent for a third and final reading. All in favor? And that motion is carried, 6-0. So we have unanimous consent. Councillor Montgomery? Councillor Montgomery?
It's that unanimous consent passed?
Yes, so we're looking for third and final reading now.
Okay, I'll move third and final reading of bylaw 21-24, please.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor for third and final reading for bylaw number 21-4, face covering repeal bylaw. All in favor? And opposed? So it passes 6-1. And administration and communications, I imagine you'll be on the job quickly to get the word out to our public. And thank you, councillors, for coming together quickly. And thank you to the public who've worked so hard on doing their parts to try to limit the spread of this virus. Councillor Peterson, a last comment?
I was just going to move adjournment, Your Worship.
Pardon me? Oh, thank you.
Adjournment.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to adjourn on the floor. All in favor?
Is it possible, Your Worship, is it possible for me to just do a thank you before we go to adjournment?
I think we've just had the motion to adjourn. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
all right.
And I don't think we have anything else on our agenda.
Okay.
Okay, so motion to adjourn. All in
Adjourn.
favor? And we are adjourned at 5:19. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.